and then I will leave you with some additional resources. All right, so before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what is Salesforce CPQ. This is Salesforce's tool for configure, price, quote, which includes assembling all of your products on a quote in an easy to use way for your sales reps. So it's going to minimize confusion, what product goes with what items are a prerequisite before you can choose another item. It's a really nice tool anytime that you have highly complicated quoting needs. CPQ can be a good fit, especially for subscriptions and renewals, recurring services. Some of the additional benefits that Salesforce CPQ has over the out-of-the-box standard quotes include the option to have templates that are dynamically generated. You can have these templates where certain sections populate only upon specific criteria. So you can say include California terms and conditions only if the account state is California. So you can build in logic on a section by section basis for your templates, which is very nice. You also have a wide variety of ways to search through your different products. So you can search based on filters, you can group them together based on product family or other custom fields. There's quite a bit of product searchability. So if you have a large product catalog, you'll be able to go through that in a more systematic way. Bundles, nested bundles, and having different bundles tab separated. This is a nice feature when you're adding your products. You can see, all right, I'd like to build a laptop and I'd also like to build a desktop. Now, under each of these configurations, we're going to have multiple choices. So if you have multiple items that require configuring, you can configure one part at a time. And this is all set up inside of CPQ. Your contracting is quick and accurate. One of the examples on the live demo portion of this is going to be automatically generating that contract. There are a few areas that you can use to make sure that your contracts remain accurate. So when you're creating your first contract, you'll have all of the renewable lines that show up on that contract. But if you were to make a change at some point after the start date of the contract, but before the end date, maybe you sell an upsell or more licenses, or if you have a downgrade, all of those need to be taken into account when you renew. So at the time of renewal, CPQ contracting lets you do that. For subscription renewals, we just touched on that. All right, why do we need Process Builder? So a really good question is to take a step back and think about, all right, if you've made the decision to purchase CPQ, those are additional, it's an additional cost for those licenses. Why doesn't this just work automatically out of the box? Why do we need Process Builder? Shouldn't this be already taken into account in the managed package? These are just legitimate questions. We need Process Builder because each company has a unique business process. So, for example, at what point in the sales process do you generate a contract? You might want this to happen after receiving an e-signature. Some people use e-signature solutions and some people don't. That's custom to you as a customer. Some people let their salespeople manually close the opportunities. Not everybody chooses to do that. So sometimes there is a deal desk, or you could have sales operations, and that team needs to get involved before you can mark an opportunity as closed won, because there may be a certain liability at saying, okay, yes, we've closed won $1 million in revenue, when it wasn't actually ready to be closed won, or there may have been a contracting goof. And so certain orgs, they don't let salespeople manually close the opportunities. Smaller companies and other companies, there's no problem there. So these are business decisions that are specific to a customer by customer basis. Another good example of this would be, when do you renew your contracts? Sometimes people automatically renew a contract 30 days before the end date, 90 days before the end date. You could have your contracts renew automatically on the end date. Everybody has a different process. Some people have a large enough sales team where they reach out right before the contract end date and they just want to be notified, okay, this is an upcoming renewal, give the salesperson notification. So for these reasons, we do use Process Builder, because Process Builder is going to let us be more flexible with when and how we make these automatic updates. Overview of Process Builder. For our use case, we are going to look at the situation when something happens, do something else. So this could be when a field is updated, check a box. When something has been activated, update a status. When you close your opportunity, send an email. So Process Builder for our demo today is going to take care of the situation when some event happens, execute one of these items. We're ready for a live demo. I'm going to take a moment to check really quick and see if we have any questions. I don't see anything right here, so I'm just going to continue. Oops. Sorry about that, my screen. Here we go. All right, so I'm in a CPQ developer org, and I'm going to talk for a minute just about that, because the CPQ developer orgs are a little bit different than some of the other developer orgs. There's the standard developer org that does not contain CPQ. There's a Trailhead playground, which also does not contain CPQ. There's a separate link that you can find inside of Trailhead modules that will link you to setting up a CPQ developer org. This org is only good for 90 days. At the end of 90 days, it still functions like a non-CPQ org, but the CPQ features get disabled. So the CPQ part of this org will expire in 90 days. For that reason, when I'm setting this up, I do try to put the date the org was created as part of the username. That's my reminder to myself of, okay, yep, that one's old. It's no longer functioning for CPQ. So that's my little word of advice as far as getting the CPQ org set up. With that, let's get started. So I am going to navigate to our accounts. And these accounts might look familiar if you've had a developer org in the past. The accounts are all very much the same. Let's pick on GenePoint today. In the account, we're going to want to make sure that this has been filled out as much as possible, because the fields that show up here under shipping address and billing address, these account fields are going to show up on our quotes. And we also want to have data integrity here. Right now, we have Salesforce CPQ information, so this needs to be filled out in order for it to function. I'm going to set this right now because it wasn't already set on this in this org. We'll say coterm yes, add on, and renewal model as contract based. I'm going to set these renewal pricing method. Let's say this is going to be list. Save that. All right, so since our renewal model has been set at the account level, that's going to let our contracts generate. From here, I'm going to make a new opportunity. the same way that you would make an opportunity as if you didn't have CPQ. So we'll call this automation hour. Give this a stage. And I'm going to save and continue from here. All right, so from our opportunity, we can use the new quote quick action. The quick action is a nice thing to build because it's going to let you pre-fill some of the important information. If you would like to do that, you can have default values here. So you could set start date to today. Let's say it's going to start next Monday. This is going to be 12 months. And I'll leave the end date blank because that's going to populate on its own. Save. So now I have my quote. I can click into my quote. And from here, I'll go ahead and add these lines. I'll click on Edit Lines in order to get to the line edit area of the system. Since I haven't already selected a price book, it's asking me to choose a price book now. So I'll go ahead and stay with the standard price book. The start date that we just filled out shows up at the top of the screen. At this point, if I wanted to change my mind, I could do that. I'm going to choose to add here because right now this quote doesn't have any products associated with it. I like that there's an admin hour. This product is default. It's part of the CPQ org. It's not something I created, but it is conveniently called admin hour. So let's add that one. We'll also add a desktop computer, and we will add a 15-inch laptop, as well as the warranty. I know for a fact that the warranty has been set up as a recurring product, and that's important for contract generation. Contract generation is important for demoing the process builder, which is why we're walking through CPQ. Once I select this, if I have bundles that need to be configured, it's going to show me now's the time to configure this desktop computer. I selected more than one bundle, so we also have this 15-inch laptop that needs to get configured as well. I'll accept the defaults. Review this one. The defaults look great. Save that. Now that it's been configured, I can move on to the pricing part of this and say if I want to put additional discounts, I can do that. For now, we'll just accept everything as is. I'll hit save. All right, so we have our account that's been set up as contract-based. We've created a quote that has a subscription product on it. We're going to mark this as primary in order to sync the quote back to the opportunity. Some people look at this step and they think, oh, this might be redundant. Why do I have to mark this as primary? The reason would be you can have multiple quotes for one opportunity. So if you're selling somebody, maybe you're selling a teacher laptops for a class, that person might want to be quoted for maybe 2 laptops or a desktop and a laptop or 2 desktops. You may create multiple quotes. At the point when you know which quote is the winning quote, that's when you would mark this as primary. This is a pretty direct use case for the sake of our demo, so we only have one quote. I'm going to mark this as primary now. It's going to take the lines that we just selected in the edit lines area and put that onto the opportunity. So if I click into my opportunity, it still hasn't loaded those just yet. I'm going to refresh my screen. And here we go. We can see admin hour, desktop computer, and all of this information. Once we go from the quote to the opportunity, we have essentially left CPQ. Most of CPQ lives on the quote object as far as configuring. So at this point, we would business as usual go through our opportunity process. For the sake of this demo, I've decided that if a salesperson manually closes an opportunity, I want this contracted checkbox to be checked automatically. Salesforce CPQ does the heavy lifting as far as creating the new contract and making sure it has all of the relevant products. What it doesn't do is check this box. So if I mouse over the help text, this is going to tell us Salesforce CPQ uses this field to automatically convert assets and subscriptions. So if I check this box, it's going to create that contract as long as all the prerequisites are there. I'm going to hop over for a minute and look at this process builder that I have built out. So this is the opportunity close process builder. It says when an opportunity is created or edited, take a look and see if the opportunity has been closed and the opportunity is not a renewal, because we have a different process for renewal opportunities. This is just for the first sale or for a non-renewal. All right, so if this works correctly and I select closed, this should now, when I save, check the box over here for contracted. All right, so I saved this and the process builder ran and checked the box for contracted. Now CPQ is going to register that checkbox and create a contract as long as I've met all of the criteria. All right, perfect. We can see that the contract generated right here. So that's good news. Now we can pick up the post-close process. So your salesperson would be doing the work up to this point. You may have a different team that manages your contracts. So here, this is the native Salesforce contract object. It's not a custom object. Anybody with access to the contract object can see this right here. We have a fair amount of items that have been pre-populated. So the start date and the end date, the contract term. Start date came automatically from the quote, and the term automatically came from the quote. The end date was calculated as the result of taking the start date plus 12 months, and that's what populates the end date. I like to use this functionality because it's very accurate. It takes into account things like leap year, and it just requires less math on behalf of the user. So I like to use these things where possible. From here, CPQ has created a contract in a draft status. Draft contracts are important because you might have a few things that are changing or something that needs to be updated. Maybe there's a master service agreement that needs to be sent out. Some companies have a contracting process. You would want your contracting process to execute and make sure that this was finalized and active before continuing on. I've decided to make a process builder that looks at the status and says if the status is active, then we're going to check the box for renewal forecast. Very much like we check the box at the opportunity level for contracted, we now need to check the box for renewal forecast in order to generate a renewal opportunity for forecasting purposes. If you're using Salesforce forecasting and you'd like to see what's coming up on the horizon, this is convenient for the sake of doing your loose numbers, so to speak. Because contracts often change midway through, there are two steps here. The first step is to check the box for renewal forecast, and the next step is to check the box for renewal quoted. Forecast makes the opportunity so that you can do some projections. Checking the box for renewal quoted is going to generate a quote with all of the relevant add-ons and downgrades, and everything that's happened over the life of the contract is going to be put onto the renewal quoted quote as a sum total. So if you've done additions and subtractions, whatever you've got left is going to be set on the quote. All right, so that's a little bit about why we're checking this box and when we're checking it. I have a process builder over here that looks at a contract. When a contract is created or edited, it's going to look and see, is the contract status active? And if the contract status is active, it will check the box for true for renewal forecast. Let's go back to our contract over here. All right, so right now this box is not checked. I'm going to click on activate. And once I select activate and it saves, you can see that renewal forecast was checked. Because I checked this box, CPQ took over from there and created this renewal opportunity, which I can see right here. The renewal opportunity is given a default name, and sometimes people want to do something to change that around or customize it. I'm going to click into this and talk a little bit about it because that's going to take us to our next process builder. This renewal opportunity, people often want to change the name to include the account name because if you have several renewal opportunities, sometimes some identifying information is nice to have. Other people like it as is. A lot of people also want to automatically close this on the close date. So you'll see that the close date is September 1st of 2020. That's because this close date matches the contract end date. For forecasting purposes, it has the amount that's included to any renewable products. We sold a laptop and a desktop, 1 hour of admin help, and a warranty. Of all of the products that were sold, only the warranty is renewable. That's why this opportunity only contains the warranty. For forecasting purposes, you may want to know that coming up in September of 2020, you have $10 in renewable revenue. That's what this accomplishes. When we get to the close date, a lot of people want to automatically close this. They have a follow-up process where they automatically send emails and they close these deals, automatically. They don't want a person to have to come in here and close it in order for everything to continue. They just want the machine to run on its own. For that reason, we would need to set up a process builder that looks at this and says, is this a renewal opportunity? If so, is today, has the close date passed? If it has, then mark this as closed. So we can see that this is a renewal over here by looking at the renewal checkbox. We can also see that the renewal contract has been populated, so we can see where this came from. I'm going to look at my third process builder, which actually I think I'm looking at this one. Sorry. I'm looking at this opportunity process builder, and it looks at only when a record is created. By looking at when a record is created, that's going to allow us to have these scheduled actions. This is going to look and see, is this a renewal? So is the renewal checkbox true? Yes. And is this not equal to close lost? So you may have, the customer may have decided not to continue. If that's the case, you don't want to continue to contract and move on with closing something that they've said they don't want. So if this is close lost, you should not renew this. All right, so if this is a renewal and it hasn't been already marked as close lost, then 1 hour after the close date, this is the smallest interval I can specify. So the short, I could try, 1 hour is really the smallest that I can do. I wish I could do a minute because then I could demonstrate this on the call. But right now we're restricted to this 1 hour. So 1 hour after the close date, we are going to mark the stage as closed won, and then also mark this as contracted equals true. My other rule that marks the contracted equals true, it excludes renewals. So this is a separate process just for renewals. All right, let's go back here. So that's going to say on September 1st of 2020, this is going to be marked as closed won automatically, and then the contracted checkbox will get checked and the cycle will continue. All right, so from here, we've gone through the contracting lifecycle and reviewed several different areas that we can use Process Builder. I'm going to jump back to our slides, and I have to go back just a few. All right, live demo. All right, so different areas we can automate with Process Builder. Just to recap everything that we've talked about, when an opportunity goes closed won, you can automatically check the box for contract generation. When a contract status, some people want their contracts to automatically activate as soon as they're created. So you could do that. You could say auto activate the contract. You can say renewal forecast needs to be checked after 30 days, or you could have your renewal quoted checked 90 days before the end date. Your opportunity status for renewals can be auto marked as closed won on the close date. These are different areas you can use Process Builder with CPQ. Some additional resources include some YouTube videos. IT Equality has a CPQ series. We also have several different trailheads for CPQ that Salesforce has released. You can look at the Trailblazer community for additional resources, and you can also go to a local user group and ask some questions there. Since we went through things rather quickly, I'm going to look for some questions. Hopefully there's a few questions.
Thanks, Ashley. Thank you so much. It was very useful and very informative. And let me check Trailblazer community. No, there is no questions, and neither on the GoToWebinar. Okay. So it looks like people are understanding. So did you get a chance to look into the winter release of automation, and what if you find anything interesting that you want to share?
Not yet, not for winter. I've been working on the trailheads to do certification renewal coming up. So I haven't made it to winter just yet.
Oh, okay. So what is your suggestion if someone wants to start learning automation like Process Builder or Flow? So what do you suggest?
I would strongly recommend going to Trailhead and creating a Trailhead playground where you can experiment with different types of automation on your own in an environment that's detached from your work environment, and just come up with scenarios of different things you might want to see automated. If you have a question about, oh, I wonder if I could send an email to my manager every time that a new opportunity goes closed won, you could look into those kinds of questions and just troubleshoot them using Process Builder with a Trailhead playground.
And how easy it for someone like someone admin to learn Lightning Flow or Process Builder? Like,
I think anybody can learn this. It's helpful to have a foundation understanding of Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, whichever you're working on. That's really important so that you at least understand what object and field you're operating on. So if you'd like to automate that email that goes out to your manager when an opportunity is closed won, you're going to have to know that you're looking at the opportunity object and that you're looking at the opportunity stage field. so that you can set this up correctly. And having a general understanding of what object is doing what is really important. So before getting started with automation, I would get started with some admin basics, learning about the how objects interact with each other, how the relationship is between an account and an opportunity, for example. Those basics are really important. But from there, I would say anybody can make a process builder. If you're in a safe environment like a sandbox, there's really nothing to lose, just rolling up your sleeves and getting in there and working on it. So that's my opinion, is that anybody can do this.
Awesome. Let me check if there are any questions.
I'm really hoping that there's some questions, because it would be nice to answer maybe a use case or talk about something specific.
Oh, there are no questions. Let me. No, 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 no. No. So, what you suggest if someone wants to learn the CPQ, like someone wants to start with the CPQ, so what is the best way to start?
For CPQ, I would strongly recommend getting a Salesforce CPQ developer org and just walking through the steps that we did today with generating a quote, adding products, and then updating the pricing, generating contracts. It's a lengthy process to get through CPQ from end to end, because there are so many small steps along the way. Getting familiar with that end-to-end process is really the foundation, because from there you can go and customize that process, add to it. You can really grow from there. But the CPQ developer org has pre-built bundles, so it gives you the chance to look at how might this look for my org. What's an example of a bundle? If you've never seen a bundle before in CPQ, it's really helpful to just walk through it and on your own. And from there, then I would go to Trailhead and start following along with some of the Trailhead modules that walk you through making updates or creating some price rules, product rules, adding different logic and customization. There's quite a bit of flexibility with CPQ. You can update UI settings so that you can group things together based on special criteria. It's just so flexible, and there's so much that you can do with it. I would start with the developer org, then go to Trailhead, and there's also quite a bit of resources out there on YouTube, as well as the Trailblazer community. There are user groups, so if you get stuck and you have a question, you can post that to the CPQ Trailblazer group.
Awesome. So let me refresh one more time if we don't have any questions, so we can wrap up. No, I was in an org. Okay, someone posted a question, J. I was in an org that had thousands of parts. What solution can you recommend to make things easier to implement?
Okay, that's a really good question, and I think that it could be valuable for a lot of people. So, when you have an org that has thousands of SKUs, and we see this somewhat frequently, if you update your UI settings in here for your quote line, when I click on add products, I'll just walk you through this. We have this filter over here. So we can filter by product family right here. And I could say, just show me software, for example. And I can apply that and then reduce the number of fields that I'm looking at here. But in addition to having this product family software filter, you can have custom filters in here too. So if you had a subfamily or a subgrouping, you can filter multiple times using this filter. And one more thing that's pretty awesome and I like, if you go to setup and then you look at the installed packages, from the CPQ installed packages configuration area, so here we go, configure, you can group the products that show up in that screen based on whatever field you like. So in line editor, we are, hold on, let me tab through here. Product description, product results, group, field name. So this one is going to group the search results. You can use any field on the product. So I would use probably product, I think product family is the most data that I have. So I would group on product family in this case, which for some reason they're not alphabetized. Let me see if I can find product family really quick. Code, here. All right, so if I save this and then I go back here, I'll cancel and I'll add products again. These are all grouped by family now, but I could have grouped on something else. I could have grouped on a custom field, for example. And now if I click into this, if I click anywhere on the gray bar, it's just going to accordion down. So from there, I can filter here once, and then I can filter again here and have the products drop down. And if you leverage these in a strategic way, you can come up with a systematic way to filter a large volume of products. There are some additional tools here. If you configure the same types of products, you can cancel out of here, and then you can have custom buttons that show up over here. So you can have a button for just add certain groups of or subsets of those products. There's quite a bit of ways that you could filter that. I hope that answers that question.
Yes. Okay. Or manually. Okay. Okay. I think you
Mhm.
answered the question. And see, he thanks. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, awesome.
And let me refresh Trailblazer community page. Nope. So if we don't have any more questions, so I would like to thank you, Ashley, and thank you so much for presenting us and sharing your knowledge with us and community. And we will post this recording on YouTube this weekend. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.